This is a reading to try to determine what happened with the Menendez brothers. I was really curious to try to find out if their father had actually done the sexual abuse that they accused. What I got from the cards was that that was not the case. What I saw in the cards here is that they wanted a quick change in their fortune. They wanted the Wheel of Fortune to change in their favor. They manifested this, so that indicates to me that it was premeditated. They did it for money, to make money. They knew that they would have to lie about it. They knew that it was stealing, in a sense. They knew that their actions were going to cause loss. They were emotional about it. It wasn't like entirely easy for them to do, but they entered into a partnership together to lie, cheat, steal, to manifest this destiny, and it put them on the world stage, made them famous, and they do sort of regret how like famous it made them, or maybe not that. They don't. It's not that they don't like being famous, but it's like they regret that like it became so exposed, like their lies and everything became exposed. So now I did ask the cards some other questions. Like I asked them over here, so they're not in this, in the reading. But I asked like the cards, like why did they kill their mother? Because like they alleged that their father was the abuser. And the cards, basically were telling me that like one thing is they didn't like how emotional their mother was. Okay, so their mother was very, very emotional. Just in regards to them, and so they didn't like that about her. And then what these cards kept telling me was that there's some sort of like news that she delivered to them, something about that they were going to have to wait. Now to me, that says a lot to me, because their main motivation was money. So I was curious about that, and what came out is that she made some sort of judgment about an addiction of theirs, and she put her foot down about it. She was not going to take their shit. And so what I feel like is that she felt that they had an addiction to money, and she wasn't going to put up with it anymore. She delivered some sort of news that they were going to have to wait, which leads me to believe that she probably was cutting them off financially and saying that like either you're not going to get any money from us at all, or you're going to have to wait a long time to get your inheritance. So either that could mean like that they would have to wait till they died, or they would have to wait until like they were a certain age, because I know you can do that. You can, you know, say like you have this inheritance, but you can't touch it till you're like 60 or something like that, you know. So something like that occurred. Also, well, I was trying to get clarification on the devil card when these cards came out, and what it says to me is that the addiction had something to do with money. She also was not thrilled about how frivolous they are with their money, and like how foolish they are. So she wasn't gonna put up with that any longer. She had had enough of their like bullshit, basically. They were basically like con artists, but like con artists to their own parents. So, you know, they would use their charms, you know, like to try to con their parents out of money. What this card indicated to me is that either she was not thrilled about the money that they were spending when they were away from them, from the parents, or she could have asked them to like move out, like get a job, move out, like, because I'm not going to support you anymore. So something to do with that, along those lines. What else did I ask? Well, there's definitely some element of they were told that they were going to have to wait, and that, like, I definitely feel like they were told to wait, and that they might have been asked to move out and get a job and, like, learn to support themselves. These cards also, because I was just trying to do clarifications, these cards also indicate that they were asked to get a job, to go to work. They were asked to wait to accept money. So that would mean that the money would come much later in life, and they were probably asked to find a job to support themselves so that they could move out. Now, I asked, like, you know, why would she do that? Like, why would she ask her kids to leave, to move out? I mean, it's pretty obvious. But, I mean, basically, the dynamic in the family was, it was not good from Kitty's point of view, because her kids were just draining them, not only financially, but emotionally as well. And that's why she was so emotional, because, like, she couldn't handle her own kids. Like, they were just like conning her all the time, trying to get more money out of her and her husband. And so the reason why she did that is because she needed to defend her own happiness, her own wealth, because she needed those things not only to live, but, I mean, she was at the age, both her and her husband were at the age of retirement. You know, they probably were thinking about retiring. So, or, you know, maybe not like quite so soon, but like you have to think about your future, you know, and you want your kids to like stand on their own 2 feet. So, that's what these cards are telling me. Also, there was a desire to try to save her marriage, because what I feel like is that, I mean, it did come out that like her husband was having affairs. So, I mean, there was emotional things going on with her in regards to that, like, because she thought she was going to lose her marriage. And so she wanted to defend the things that she had in her life. So that's why she felt like she had to cut off the kids. And also there was like an element of wanting to return to like the feelings of the past with her husband, like wanting to save the marriage and bring the marriage back to what it once was. When I asked why what was going on with their dad, I mean, what showed to me was that his kids were his pride and joy, and he just wanted them to be hard workers, just like he was. Like, he wanted them to prove themselves to be something bigger than what he was. He just wanted his kids to he wanted to be able to be proud of his kids. The only way that he saw to be proud of your kids is like if they work super hard and like become something. And so because his kids weren't really doing that, they were sort of just being con artists and things like that, like, it was disappointing to him. But at the same time, well, because he wanted them to work for their money, work for the things that that he himself worked for, he was also withholding money. So he would have been right along there with Kitty, withholding money, cutting them off, telling them to go to work. The boys, their wish was just to like live this lavish lifestyle of partying and like not working. They just didn't care to work at all. They didn't want to. They just wanted to live off of the money that their parents had accumulated. That's what these cards tell me. And then this card is like, they were bored with life in general, like any sort of like offers that came their way. And by offers, you know, like, this could be schooling, it could be work, it could be job opportunities, things like that. They just weren't interested. They didn't want to work. They wanted to party. I asked, like, I started to ask, like, if they regret it. And, I mean, there's definitely, well, when it went down, they were upset about the sudden change that occurred in their money situation. And then I asked if Lyle regrets it, and it showed to me that hold on, that's not the right card. Well, it showed me that he does regret it, and there was something about, like, he spends nights up crying thinking about it. But what was interesting was that he got this, like, defense card. And I was like, well, why is he defending, like, feeling the need to defend himself? And it's because if he can keep up the facade of, like, the lie, he knows that he can make money off of it. So he'll continue with the defense of saying that, like, his parents were abusers. Now, if I asked if Eric regrets it. So Eric regrets it, but he just really, just like his brother, more so regrets the change that occurred to his life. And then he has slightly a tough time a tough time with like coming to grips with, like, with guilt and things like that, like saying, like, was it right or was it wrong? But ultimately, he also uses it to, like, create things in his life, create good things in his life, just like his brother. So, I mean, maybe it's money, but if it's not money, then it's just notoriety, fame. So, I mean, he knows that it's, like, wrong to, like, keep up the lie, but he knows that, like, it keeps people talking about them, I guess. And he also just dislikes the change that it created in his life. Like, he doesn't like to be locked away. So, I mean, it's pretty clear to me that, you know, they were not abused in the traditional sense. Like, they were not abused sexually, or, you know, like, their parents just wanted them to work for that lifestyle. Like, their parents worked for that lifestyle. Their parents wanted to enjoy their lifestyle. They didn't want their kids to just sit back and be like, okay, great, like, now I can just, like, do whatever the hell I want. Like, their parents wanted them to be achievers and, like, make something of themselves and be able to also make money and do that and have that lifestyle also. So, I mean, it's purely, like, children not realizing the motivations of their parents and not realizing that, like, it takes a lot of hard work to get to that status, that level, and, you know, you have to be willing to put in the work to also live like that. Like, it's just a reality, you know, and a lot of teenagers don't understand that. They're in their teenager angsty years, and they just want the same lifestyle that their parents are living, and they're not realizing how much hard work goes into that. you know, in order to achieve that. So, and they took their parents' like hard stance on, they took their parents' hard stance on cutting them off, telling them that they have to go get a job, telling them that like they were going to be either cut out of the will or they wouldn't get the money for a very, very long time, you know, like that sort of thing. They just took it the wrong way. They took it as like, oh, our parents are so mean. They're just like these evil people who just like are greedy and they want to keep the money all to themselves. But it's like, if you truly understood, it's like your parents have every right to do that because it's their money. They work their ass off for that money. So like, you have no rights to that money. So that's why, you know, and their parents were saying, we'll give you every advantage, every opportunity to be on the same level as us. You know, like, we'll send you to Princeton, we'll, you know, try to make you tennis superstars, you know, like, things like that, where, like, they were trying to set them up to where making that amount of money was going to be so easy. But, like, they still didn't get it, and they let their own greed take over, which is really, really sad, because now their parents are dead, and they still don't have any, you know, they don't have any real regret over it. Like, they just literally are sad for themselves. They're sad for that it, like, totally changed their life. They're sad that they didn't get away with it. They're sad that they don't get to live that lavish lifestyle anymore. And it's like, don't you understand? Your parents were, like, literally, like, yeah, maybe they were being cold to you because, like, you were a pair of, like, troubled kids. Like, you were not doing the straight and narrow things. You were acting out. You were robbing from people and getting in trouble and hanging out with the wrong types of people. Stealing their credit cards and, like, you know, buying stuff that they don't need. So it's just like, they were fed up. They had had enough. Like, their kids were just acting out and were bad. And so they were like, we're cutting you off. Like, you have to go to work now. You're 18 and you're 21. Like, welcome to the real world. Like, you have to get a job and get an apartment. And they just didn't want to do that. So that's what really went on in Menendez. Oh, and there was something about, I asked, like, if, like, the abuse was not true, why were there so many people that got up on the stand and said that, like, they told them that they were abused? And what the cards pretty much told me was that those people were paid to say whatever they were told to say. So unfortunately, you really can't believe sometimes, you know, what people say, because if they're paid to say it, you know, then, you know, that's just the way it goes. Like, you know, there was a show I just watched about the trial, and, like, you know, people were saying that their lawyer that they hired, you know, that she was known for lying to just win the case. So I'm not surprised if she paid those people to say that they were abused as children to further sell the story. So, and, you know, honestly, like, they grew up in Hollywood. It would not surprise me that they would be such great actors, you know, to tell a story of abuse on the stand. And, you know, honestly, if you know anything about body language, you I was watching that show about the trial, and there's an interview there with the two of them, the Barbara Walters interview, and they have duping delight all over their faces. So I mean, sorry to say, it's not surprising that somebody, two people that grew up in Hollywood turn out to be con artists and really, really good actors. You know what I mean? So, that's the Menendez brothers, and hope you liked it, and let me know if you would like a personal reading, and thanks for listening.